What's up, everyone? It's time for another fresh crack. Hey everyone, Will from the podcast, and I'm going to do another fresh crack. This is a video series where I will open an unopened bottle of whiskey and give you my first thoughts on it. So tonight I have something that I've wanted before. I've tried different years' releases with friends or at a bar, but I've never owned a bottle, and that is Michter's 10-year straight rye whiskey. Now this is a single barrel of straight rye, aged 10 years from Michter's. It has the green wax top. It has this like whole fishnet thing going on. It's got a hang tag, which I'll take a look at in a minute, and I'm gonna get to it real fast. We are proud to offer you our rare 10-year-old single barrel Kentucky straight rye whiskey. In the Michter's tradition, hailing from America's first whiskey distilling company, this rye whiskey is made from the highest quality American rye and aged for 10 years in a fire-charred, new American white oak barrel until it meets our exceptional quality standards. It is then further mellowed by our signature filtration. That almost felt uncomfortable. Take it. So Michter's 10-year rye, it's one that people chase often. It's a very pretty bottle, and it always tastes delicious. I've had the bourbon before. I tend to like the single barrel 10-year rye a little bit better than the bourbon, which I'm a big bourbon fan. I love ryes as well. But when it comes head to head on these two, I typically lean towards the rye, but it's also the one that I've never been able to own. And that's why I was really excited when I had the opportunity to pick it up at a local shop. This rye, although it is a single barrel and aged 10 years, it is a little bit lower proof. It's 92.8 proof, and so it's going to drink a little bit softer. The Michter's barrel strength rye is delicious as well. It's not 10 years, and I don't believe it's a single barrel, but those are always really good, and those are normally around $100, I think, to get one of those. This is $170 for the 10-year age stated single barrel. So now it is a single barrel, so I'm sure that from the lot there could be some variance in flavor profile. The one I'm drinking today is barrel number 21F158, and I think that's a 7. It looks like it could be a tail on a 1, but I think it is a 7. So 21F1587 is the barrel I'm drinking from. If you have one and are curious if it's the same, that would be kind of cool. But know that there could be some variance in the barrels, as happens with single barrels. But I do feel like even though they are single barrels and they can have variance because of that when the master distiller at Michter's approves the release of these special releases, that they kind of have a similar profile of the barrels that they're releasing for that year. So there may be some variance in what I'm drinking and what you may have or have available. I think it'll probably be similar year to year on the profile that they're releasing. It's sweet. You definitely know that it's an older aged rye. I like when rye gets over that 6-year mark and really starts to take on a lot of the barrel influence, not just the grain influence. You're getting some oak in here, but there's a sweetness that starts to coat that spicy rye grain nose that you get, and that's what I'm getting on this one because of that 10-year age statement, because it's been in the barrel that long. So I'm really excited about that. A lot of just oak on the nose, a little bit of that grassy rye nose to it as well, that's laced with that oak. Nothing overbearing or anything in that, but I really like what I'm getting on the nose. At 10 years, this rye on the nose, it seems like it's got a lot of that oak barrel influence just from it. It's got a sweetness in there too, but just a kind of a tannic oak on the nose that I'm assuming I'm going to be able to taste as well when I take my first sip. Okay, so at 92 proof, it's obviously not super hot, but there is that spice to it, that rye spice that's good. And it's definitely got those oak layers in a way. Even though it's only 10 years old, it reminds me of some of the oak characteristics that you'd pick up on, like Elijah Craig, the Big Red 12s back in the day, that they were 12-year age dated, but there was a lot of oak influence. There's a lot of oak influence on this, as though those 10 years, it's spent a lot of time interacting with that wood and picking up some of that. I like an oaky whiskey, so that this is a good thing for me. But if you're a little bit shy on the heavy oak influence, it may not be your favorite. I mean, the color on it, you can tell it was in a barrel for a long time. And even though they did proof it down, it's not lost that really rich color to it that I love looking at. All right, so beyond the oak, there's some green apple to it. There's a brightness there that you get on a rye whiskey, typically like a younger one. But I love the way it doubles with the oak that's going on. At first, I was concerned there was a little bit of a drying effect, which would be from the oak, I think the tannicness of it, but it kind of cut the finish short. So I was concerned that it was going to have a shorter finish. With a lower proof whiskey, you can sometimes have those concerns. But as I've taken a few more sips and it's coated my mouth, the finish is there. It's very good. It's sweet. It's almost like a caramel apple, that green apple dipped in caramel that you'd have at a fair and then maybe roasted over a campfire because it's oaky. I really like the way this is. It's sweet. It's spicy. It checks all the boxes for me for an aged rye, and I really like it. This rye seems to keep developing as I drink it. Now it's not anything untraditional in the flavors I'm getting from it for an aged rye, so that's good. It's not like there's some wonky thing out of left field, but it seems like as I drink it, it's developing more in the glass. It's opening up a little bit, and I'm starting to get new flavors that are introducing as I go through it. The tartness of that green apple that I picked up on, I really like. Maybe there's some floralness to it that sometimes you get some of that herbal and floral notes out of a rye. I'm getting that as well. All around, it's just a really fun experience because it's older, so it's sweet, and all the things I've mentioned previously that are coming out of it. I like it. I like the sweet caramel with the little bit of a tart green apple, and then obviously the oak influence. It's a fun drink. It's something I look forward to sharing with people. Now, the big caveat is that it's hard to find and it's $170 retail. So as far as buy bar pass goes, it's if you like aged rye, I think it's a buy, and you're someone who's going to spend that money on a bottle of whiskey. I would go for it. I think it's one to pick up if you can. If you are newer, or if you are not as into rye, or even that oak profile, I don't know that I would tell you to go out and look for this. Sometimes the oaky whiskeys can be something of an acquired taste or something that people shy away from because it does have such a dominating presence in the whiskey. So if that's you, that's someone that's not a big fan of oak, or maybe you don't haven't had too much experience with aged ryes or things like that, I don't know that I would spring the $170 if you find it just right there. But if those are things that I'm saying and you're like, oh man, I'm right there, it's an experience you'll enjoy, and I think one that you should look out for. Now, in previous years, they've had a couple releases sometimes of the 10-year rye. They've said this year there's only one. It's this one, that their stocks are at that point where they're only doing the one. So this was announced for release at the end of July, started shipping out a couple weeks ago. I know people have gotten them in different areas of the country. I was able to get mine about probably 2 weeks ago in this area, just now getting the review out though. So look around. Ask around. It's not that heavy allocated release season, so it may be overlooked in some areas. Maybe some shops are holding it back for a drawing at the end of the year or something like that. But it is out there now, the 2021 release of the Michter Single Barrel 10-year-old rye. It's great. I really think that you'll like it if that's the kind of thing you're into. But once again, it's a heavy price tag on a bottle of whiskey. So if it doesn't sound like that's really your profile, maybe it's not for you. Thanks for watching this Fresh Crack review. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up. We've got coming up on this Wednesday, if you're watching this prior, and if it's after, then you'll be able to see the video. But Dixon Dedman, formerly of Kentucky Owl, will be joining us. He's going to be breaking some exclusive news, so you'll want to watch that. We're going to be doing that at 9 p.m. Eastern Time right here on this channel, so subscribe and ring the bell so you get a notification when we go live. He's got some breaking news about some stuff that's coming up for him, and we're getting the exclusive on that. Other than that, if you want to support this channel, patreon.com/thepodcast, or just go ahead and subscribe, thumbs up, ring the bell. We'll talk to you next time on another Fresh Crack.